fit. I'm thinking it'll fit. Well, it's 6 o'clock on the 8th. Rolling out. So this was the first little jaunt. We were going from Hot Springs to Edgemont, kind of heading up the Edgemont Hill. You'll see once we get to the top, we'll be looking over the flat land, heading towards Nebraska, which then we head into Wyoming. So if you could imagine what eastern Wyoming looks like, this is just outside of Lusk, Wyoming, heading towards Lost Springs and Glendo Junction, where we'll jump on the interstate and be heading towards Casper. So right here we're heading past Shoshone Reservoir, about ready to get into some of the mountains, and this is one of the prettier areas of day number 1 that we were traveling through, heading towards Thermopolis. Well, we're at Boysen State Park, by the reservoir. So this was the trail we were heading down from Shoshone National Park, up there at the lake, heading down the valley towards Thermopolis, through the canyon, and then following the river all the way to Thermopolis. And as you can see, the sights were something to see. This is Highway 120, where we're heading out of Thermopolis, heading towards Cody, Wyoming, which will be our stop number one. We kind of start heading into the mountains a little bit here in this stretch. It's kind of a nice drive. It's kind of not too many people. It was a little warm that day when we headed over there, middle of the day, but it was a good ride.
Didn't see very many antelope. But dang, it's like the animals we did see shoot, they were like.
So there wasn't much sitting around on this trip. So after day one, when we rode from Hot Springs to Cody, Wyoming, we had decided to go take Chief Joseph Highway, which takes you up into the mountains, where we went up to one of the summits, which was a really pretty drive. As you see here, the mountains, once we made it to the top, was just completely beautiful. And yeah, it was a good ride to finish off the day. Well, Dad and I drove up to, we call it Dead Indian Jump, way up in the mountains. Video don't do it justice. So day one, I believe this was the prettiest view of the day. We were coming down from Chief Joseph Highway. As you can see here, it was just completely beautiful. We were pretty much ending our day after a long ride. We were getting ready to head back to the hotel to take it easy. So as you can see here, we started our mornings pretty early, starting about 5:30 in the morning, so we can get out, take a ride, see if we can see any wildlife early. Here we're heading out of Cody, Wyoming, heading towards the east gate of Yellowstone Park. You'll see here we'll be driving past Buffalo Bill Reservoir and going through a couple tunnels, which is pretty cool. As you can see here, the video just don't do this one justice. When we were heading from Cody to Yellowstone Park, the mountains were just straight up in this river bottom, just high as can be heading towards Buffalo Bill Reservoir, and you can see we're about ready to head into tunnel number 1. So as you can see here, we're heading into the mountains, down through this valley. We started off the morning, it was like mid 60 degrees, and by the time we get to Yellowstone entrance, it had dropped to like 34 degrees. And this is the first part of August. The temperature change was nuts.
Places must have been fire.
Well, Yellowstone Lake up the mountains. So day 2, we decided to take Yellowstone Loop, the North Loop, and as you can see here, we were heading past some of the steam pots and boiling pots, so we had to stop and take some pictures. So what's a trip to Yellowstone Park if you don't stop at Yellowstone Falls? I believe on day 2, this was one of the prettiest areas and one of the most memory of my dad and I when we were on day 2 taking this trip and being able to go and see it in person. It was one of my biggest memories of the trip, since I'd never been there. Forty.
Let me get a selfie.
So this is the views off of Mount Washburn, kind of towards the northern loop, northern junction of Yellowstone Park, where we stopped at one of the outlooks and took in the sights. So the main attraction, Old Faithful. I had never been to Old Faithful before, or even Yellowstone Park. So we decided to stop here on the second day on the North Loop, which we decided to ride the whole park in one day. But we stopped here just in time to see it erupt and watch it with about 4,000 to 5,000 other people that were there seeing the same thing.
No, I'm shrinking. Oh, it's shrinking.
Better when you were younger, huh?
So this is Jackson Lake, right on the edge of the Teton Mountains. We had to stop here just to take in the views, see what the lake looked like, and enjoy the memories. So the start of day 3, we started out of Du Bois heading to Teton National Park. As you can see, we started early again, but what's the point of going on a vacation trip and seeing the sights if you don't start early? You can see here, it was 47 degrees when we started, and I had wised up and made sure I put my warm clothes on before the trip started. So reasons why we left so early the mornings we were on this trip was to try to see some wildlife and try to get as much riding in as we could throughout the day. We did end up finally seeing on day 3 up in the mountains, we finally seen a herd of elk and a few deer along the creek bottom. So day 3, this was one of the best views, but it speaks for itself. The Teton Mountains. We were standing back on one of the outlooks, getting a full view over.
Video don't do it justice, people.
So this is a view from Signal Mountain Overlook. This was kind of a memory spot for my dad. He went out elk hunting back in the early 2000s out there with Grandpa Watson, and they went up on this mountain on a Saturday morning and in the fall, and was able to hear the elk bugling down below. So that was a spot he wanted to take and show me.
Here, let's take a selfie. You've seen it. Coming up here is kind of a trail thing.
So this is Jenny Lake, the closest you can get to the Teton Mountains. If this isn't a piece of heaven, I don't know what isn't. By the views here, it's just breathtaking. So we're still on day 3 here. My dad and I, middle of the day, we decided to try to get out of the heat and head for the mountains. So we decided to head up into Idaho and take a loop around Idaho and back into Pinedale, where we rode along Paradise Lake here in a little bit, just to try to get out of all the tourists and the people, just see the state. So here's Paradise Lake in Idaho that runs down towards Pinedale, Wyoming. We ended up riding along here, kind of a nice afternoon. We ended up getting stopped in construction. We had to wait for quite a while for road construction, but that's a part of summer traveling, a little bit of construction. So day 4, we took off out of DuBois and headed back through the Tetons to Jackson Hole to go play tourist for the morning as we were heading towards Pinedale. We spent a few hours in Jackson Hole around the elk arches and getting pictures and stuff like that and checking out a few stores, but that's not really my dad and I's scene, so we decided to travel on to Pinedale, where we ended up going to a museum and checking out a few other things.
They said something about a
Continental Divide.
famous grizzly bear got killed.
Towega Pass or something.
Towega.
Tohigi or something. Big up peak right there.
How couldn't we see a pack of wolves run out there? Wolves run out there and kill a buffalo or something.
Times Square, buddy.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go get.
So this little stretch here is the Hoback Mountain Range between Jackson Hole and Pinedale. My dad used to take this road quite a bit back in the day, heading out to Alpine to go hunting elk back in the 90s. So he knew the road pretty well, and the scenery, but I hadn't seen it in a long time since I was a kid, so it was good to see it again.
Warming up. Best bighorn sheep hunting in the lower 48.
Bondurant. Hoback Ridge.
So with getting to Pinedale fairly early in the day, on Thursday we decided to take a little trip on Thursday afternoon and run down to Big Piney, which is land of the monster mule deer that come out of the mountain range from the west and come down out into the open during the wintering time. And so we decided to drive down there and go take a look and see what it looked like. And here is the mountain range where they come out during the winter and come down on the flat to winter and
Big Piney.
because there's some harsh winters over there in
The monster
Wyoming
muleys.
during the winter. So day 5 started off early again. We were heading from Pinedale, heading back home to Hot Springs. It was a little over 500 miles to get home in one day, but the sunrise was the most beautiful, I think, of the whole trip outside of Pinedale. But this was the trip home. I didn't try to video a whole lot because I was just ready to get home that day and get home in one piece.
Well, we're in the middle of Wyoming somewhere. Between Farson and Lander.
I hear motorcycles or something.
Up ahead of us, or a truck or something.
Here, let me take your picture. Farson and Lander.
I know.
See, this is where the Oregon.
So we wanted to stop at Independence Rock in Wyoming on the way home and see where the settlers used to use it from when they were traveling out west. They used to use it as a landmark to get through the the pass to the mountains,
What is that,
so
Pathfinder?
they didn't
Not
get
too much
end up
further.
having to get stuck in the Hoback mountain range during the middle of the winter. It was kind of a shortcut, so we decided to stop there, get some pictures, and continued on with our journey. So after 5 days of traveling, we traveled over 2,000 miles and traveled all through the state of Wyoming and made it home.